Hi, I'm Sam with Big Dog Adhesives, and one question we get asked all the time about Seam King is how do we mix your product? What is the proper way to mix the pigments with the resins and add the catalyst so that we get a perfect seam every time? And we want to show you guys this is super simple. You're not going to have any issues whatsoever. So first thing you do is we have a program that's simple as 1, 2, 3. And basically what that means is 1, squeeze out roughly a 4-inch line of resin, which is 50 grams. 2, add 2 pumps of catalyst to kick it off, and then basically 3 drops of pigment. 1, 2, 3. Now obviously when you're in the field, we've had this question come up a couple times. You want to add your pigments before you add your catalyst, right? You want to get your pigments added to the resin, make sure that color is the right color for the seam so that when you join those 2 pieces of countertops together, you've got a seam that's nearly invisible. Do not add your catalyst before you add your pigments, right? Add your pigments, then once you have that color perfect, you're gonna add your catalyst. So let me just kind of walk you guys through the process here. First thing you're gonna do is just take the cap off of the baggie here, and you're gonna want, for the average seam, your average countertop seam that's 25.5 inches long, you're gonna want 50 grams of resin. And basically what 50 grams of resin works out to is if you guys are squeezing it out of the bag and you've got a diameter that's the width of the cap, when you guys put it onto your little working surface that you're working on, basically if it's the width of that cap, it's gonna be roughly a 4-inch long line that you're putting out. So here I'm on a scale, but roughly we are right now at 48 grams, and that's roughly 4 inches long. Put your cap back on here so you don't make a mess. Now let's say you've got your resin out, you're actually working on a Cambria Britannica like we've got our dinner table here, and you need to prep your adhesive here so that it matches your Cambria Britannica. You can actually go to the Seam King app, put in Britannica, and it is gonna bring up exactly what you guys need to match. In that Seam King app, we've got all the popular colors, and we have what the dosing is for the pigments so that you guys can get 95% of the way there. Obviously, every shading of every slab varies from slab to slab, so while that Seam King app will get you 95% of the way there, you are gonna need to look at it with your eye and make sure that if you need to make any adjustments for the particular shading in the slab that you're working on. But if you go to the Cambria Britannica, you're gonna see that it calls for roughly 1 pump or 1/2 gram of marble. So you can go ahead and put in your 1/2 gram of marble pigment there. Then you can come over and you are going to mix up your pigment into the resin. And when you guys are doing this, we recommend you guys go nice and slow, just like this. I know we see a lot of guys that are out in the field, they're moving it real fast. When you mix super fast, you guys are mixing air into the resin. And while it may not seem like it's that big of a deal, when you guys pull a seam, if there are air bubbles encapsulated in that resin, when that seam is pulled together and it starts hardening, if you don't have a super tight seam and any of those air bubbles start to pop, you're gonna not have a really nice finished seam that's glued there. You're gonna have to come back over with a skim coat. So we recommend just mixing everything nice and smooth, nice and consistent. Don't rush it. Don't want to get any more air into the resin than you have to. Once you guys have your pigments in there and you're looking at it and you're comparing it to the countertop and you're like, okay, perfect. This is Cambria Britannica. That's almost a perfect match. Once you have your color dialed in, you guys are ready to add the catalyst. And what we recommend is that you have 1 to 3% catalyst to resin. So if you have 50 grams of resin out there, you're going to need 1 gram of catalyst. So just like the pigments, every pump is a 1/2 gram. So if you have 50 grams of resin, you need 2 pumps of catalyst. So we've got 50 grams here, 1 4-inch line. We've got our pigment mixed in. We're gonna now add 1 gram of catalyst, which is 2 pumps. So we're gonna add 1 pump, that's a 1/2 gram. 2 pumps, that's a full gram. So just remember, 50 grams of resin, 2 pumps of catalyst, and you guys are good to go. Once you have the catalyst in there, you're gonna mix it up. You're gonna get it mixed up nice and thorough so that it's all mixed in nice and evenly. You wanna get a nice, smooth, consistent mix so the catalyst is spread evenly throughout the resin so that you get a nice, consistent kick. But then, once you have it all mixed up thoroughly, you have roughly a 5 to 8 minute working time. That means that once the catalyst is thoroughly mixed into the resin, you guys will have 5 to 8 minutes to spread that resin down your guys' seam, get it pulled together, put your seam clamps on it, get it leveled and get it dialed in, and you got 5 to 8 minutes to get that taken care of. Then you're going to let it set, and you're going to have a 10 to 15 minute fixture time, meaning that in 10 to 15 minutes, the chemical reaction is going to take place between the catalyst and the resin. The chemical is going to kick off, and your seam is going to get hard there, and then you guys are good to go. One thing is, have your seam prepped before you mix in your catalyst. You guys need to make sure you're pulling that seam, dry fitting it, making sure you can get it perfectly leveled so that once you have this mixed, you guys are putting that resin down that seam and you guys are pulling it together perfectly level and off and running. You guys only have 5 to 8 minutes, so you want to make sure that everything is dialed in and perfect before you start putting the adhesive in there. Obviously that seems like common sense, but I mean, I've been installing in the field and sometimes you forget to do that, and then the next thing you know, it is a mad rush to try and get that seam level before the adhesive kicks. So always make sure everything is leveled, always make sure everything is dialed in before you put the adhesive in. Now, if you live in a state like Arizona or Texas where it's super hot, maybe you only want to put in a pump and a half of catalyst. You want to dial back the catalyst a little bit so you have a little bit more working time. If you guys are working in a state like Wisconsin or Minnesota where it's super freezing in the winter, maybe add in a third pump of catalyst so that you can counteract the cold weather and get it to kick a little bit faster. So obviously we recommend 50 grams of adhesive, 1 gram of catalyst, which is 2 pumps. So 50 grams resin, 2 pumps of catalyst, and that should take care of you 98% of the time. It's up to you if you want to speed it up or slow it down. But the one thing we do recommend is that you never really go over 5 or 6 pumps. That would be the max. If you start going over that, there's a chance you start over catalyzing the resin. Our catalyst has a much lower BPO load than a lot of our competitors' catalysts, but still, we recommend you stay in that 1 to 3% range for the catalyst. If you guys have any questions, feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email. If you guys want us to come out to your shop and do an in-person demo, we are more than happy to do that as well. We know you guys are going to love the Seam King product. Super simple to use. It's just a great revolutionary product for the countertop market, and we encourage you guys to give it a shot and let us know what you think. Talk to you soon.